Bimbo Bakeries USA is the American corporate arm of Mexico's Grupo Bimbo. It is the largest bakery company in the United States. The company, headquartered in Horsham, Pennsylvania, United States and Greater Philadelphia, owns 6 of the top 12 fresh bread brands in the United States, and is a top advertising sponsor for many major American-owned soccer teams around the globe. Name: the name Bimbo was first coined in 1945 when the company switched from Super Pan S.A. a mixing of the words bingo and Bambi. Bimbo's innocent, childlike associations fit the image the company wished to build. The English word bimbo, with its negative connotations, has no cognates in Spanish. History: Grupo Bimbo entered the U.S. market with the purchase of Pacific Pride Bakeries in 1996. At the time, Pacific Pride Bakeries was the largest independent baker in the San Diego area. The current company, Bimbo Bakeries USA, was established in 1998 when Grupo Bimbo purchased Mrs. Baird's Bakeries in Texas, which at the time was the largest family-owned bakery in the United States, and merged it with the former Pacific Pride Bakeries. At this point, it was renamed Bimbo Bakeries USA and U.S. headquarters was set up in Fort Worth, Texas. In 2002, Grupo Bimbo made another acquisition when it purchased 5 plants in California, Texas, Colorado, and Oregon. The purchase also gave Bimbo Bakeries USA the right to such brands as Arrowhead, Entenmann's, Thomas, and Bobbili in the western United States. Nationwide expansion: on December 10, 2008, it was announced that Grupo Bimbo was in negotiations to purchase WFI, a subsidiary of George Weston Limited, for $2.38 billion, a purchase that would make Bimbo Bakeries USA the largest bakery company in the USA. The purchase was finalized on January 21, 2009. The acquisition added brands such as Arnold, Brownberry, Freyhofers, Strohemann, and gave Bimbo the rights to the Western brands in the eastern United States. The purchase also added 22 more factories and 4,000 delivery trucks, giving Bimbo Bakeries USA 35 factories and over 7,000 sales routes in the United States, along with a footprint in all of the lower 48 states and almost $4 billion in annual sales. The Western Foods headquarters in Horsham, Pennsylvania became the new headquarters for Bimbo's USA operations, relocating from Fort Worth, Texas, once the deal closed. In an effort to increase its national exposure, on January 11, 2011, Bimbo announced a 4-year partnership agreement making it the official jersey sponsor of the Philadelphia Union, the Major League Soccer team local to their national headquarters. The Union sponsorship agreement marks the 5th professional soccer team sponsored by Bimbo. The parent company Grupo Bimbo sponsors the following 5 teams: Rochester Rhinos, Club Arma Copyright Rica, CD Guadalajara and Compare Monterrey of the Primera División de Mar Copyright Zico teams, and CD Saprissa of Costa Rica. The deal also makes Bimbo the official bread and baked goods sponsor of the Union and MLS. Bimbo will become an official sponsor of MLS, opening MLS league and club marketing assets, such as stadium signage, to the company. The sponsorship deal is valued at roughly $12 million over the 4-year period. Sara Lee Acquisition: on November 9, 2010, Grupo Bimbo announced that it has agreed to acquire the North American fresh bakery business of the Sara Lee Corporation. The transaction, which is subject to regulatory review, would combine the largest and third-largest baking companies in the United States, as measured by annual sales. The deal is reported as costing $959 million. This acquisition will leave Bimbo Bakeries USA with 75 bakeries in 31 states, serving the entire continental United States through more than 13,000 sales routes. The acquisition would bring approximately $2.1 billion in sales to Bimbo Bakeries USA, for a rough total of $6 billion. This would make Bimbo Bakeries USA more than twice as large as the number 2 bakery company in the United States, Flowers Foods. Sara Lee Corporation acquired its fresh baked division in 2001 with the acquisition of Earth Grains for a then industry record of $2.8 billion. This sale represents a 66% discount. In November 2011, Sara Lee Corporation completed the sale of its North American fresh bakery business to Grupo Bimbo for $709 million. Sara Lee is also selling its fresh bakery businesses in Spain and Portugal to Grupo Bimbo for €115 million, in a deal announced in October 2011. That acquisition was expected to close by the end of 2011. Bimbo Bakeries was required to sell off some of its assets by the Antitrust Division of the United States Department of Justice. The following operations were sold: Earth Grains and Healthy Choice in Omaha was sold to Pan O Gold in May 2012. Wholesome in Milano and Harrisburg and Scranton were sold to Schmidt Baking Company in May 2012. Sara Lee and Earth Grains in California and Earth Grains in Oklahoma City were sold to Flowers Foods in October 2012. The Earth Grains and Mrs. Baird's brands in Kansas City have yet to be sold. Main brands: Arnold, a Euro producer of loaf bread primarily sold throughout the United States. Beefsteak, producer of bread; Bimbo, a Euro producing cakes and bread. Bimbo breads and cakes are found in major United States cities with large Mexican and Mexican-American populations. Bobbili, a Euro producer of ready-made pizza crusts. Brownberry, producer of loaf bread primarily sold throughout the United States. Earth Grains, producer of loaf bread primarily sold throughout the United States. Entenmann's, a Euro pastry baker in the United States. Francisco, producer of bread and rolls. Freyhofer's, producer of bread and cakes most commonly found in upstate New York. J.J. Nissen, producer of bread commonly found in New England. Marinla, a Euro producer of Mexican cookies. Mrs. Baird's, a Euro, a leading bakery primarily present in Texas and surrounding states. Old Country, Arawit, a Euro producer of loaf bread primarily sold throughout the United States. Sara Lee, Stroeman's, a Euro with Arawit above, a producer of loaf bread in the United States. Thomas, a Euro producer of English muffins and bagels. Tama Rosa, a Euro producer of home-style bread, pastry, and tortillas. Worker safety: the company has been cited for numerous worker safety violations, as well as failure to report worker injuries to California's Division of Occupational Health and Safety. Between 2003 and 2010, 9 Bimbo Bakeries workers had parts of digits or a limb amputated after accidents at plants across the state, and regulators found cases of inadequate training and machine guarding. See also: List of bakeries, List of brand name breads. References. External links. Official website.